So we are looking at the movement of blood throughout the body, and in this image we're looking at blood that's moving to the lungs. Now we have to consider, why is blood going to the lungs? Well, we have to think about what goes on in the lungs. We breathe in and we breathe out, and when we breathe in we're taking in oxygen, and when we exhale we're giving off carbon dioxide. So that would make sense then that the blood that is going to the lungs is going to have carbon dioxide. We're taking that blood there to get the carbon dioxide out of it. So we see the CO2 blood in blue to indicate that this blood is rich in carbon dioxide. Now what happens is, as blood is going to the lungs, blood travels up at carbon dioxide. It goes through the arteries, it passes into the arterioles, which branch out kind of like trees, and then we get into smaller blood vessels known as capillaries. And this is where gas exchange really occurs, and that is because these blood vessels are very, very small, and the walls to them are very, very thin. And if the walls are thin, that allows the carbon dioxide in the blood to escape. So the carbon dioxide will go through the blood into the capillaries, but then the carbon dioxide will kind of exit. And that happens through a process known as diffusion. So we have CO2 that's kind of exiting. Now, at the same time that carbon dioxide is exiting, we have oxygen going in. So we'll have oxygen kind of coming in through the capillaries, and now the blood has has gotten rid of carbon dioxide, but has gained oxygen. So oxygen will enter in the capillaries, and then it will start to go into the larger venules, which will start to return blood back to the heart, and then into the larger veins, and then back to the heart using those pulmonary veins. So now let's talk about blood moving to the body. We just talked about blood going to the lungs, it getting rid of carbon dioxide, picking up oxygen, and then it returned to the heart using those pulmonary veins. Well, then it will go through the left atrium, the bicuspid valve, then into the left ventricle, which has a very thick and strong myocardium. It will push the blood out, and it has to push the blood to the entire body. It does that by going through the aortic valve and then into a very large artery, the aorta. So right here we have an artery, let's just call it the aorta, and that comes out of the heart going to the body. So this has a lot of oxygen to it. So here's the oxygen. So the oxygen is coming from the heart through the aorta and then into smaller arteries. And then it's again going to go into arterioles. So we have this oxygen that is going through the arterioles, and then it reaches the capillaries. And just like before, in the capillaries we have gas exchange. So oxygen will exit, and it will go to the cells of our body that need it. And at the same time, as oxygen is exiting the blood, going to the cells of the body, we have carbon dioxide going into the capillaries, and then through the venules and the veins, leading back to the heart. We will have to pass through the inferior or superior vena cava to get to the heart. But then once we get to the heart, we go to the right atrium, tricuspid valve, right ventricle, pulmonary valve, and then back into the pulmonary arteries, where the process restarts, which is exactly where we start at the beginning of this video. So one thing that you should be able to understand moving away from this is the process of how blood moves to the body. But also something to consider is one of the misconceptions that I get all the time, year after year, and that is students tend to think that arteries always carry blood that's rich in oxygen, and veins always carry blood that's rich in carbon dioxide. But if you look at these two images, you will start to hopefully understand that that is a misconception. An artery simply takes blood away from the heart, and veins return it.